Welcome to the CEN show, a platform where we learn from the world community. This evening, I'm your host, Rashaki Maskani. We have on the panel Professor Rahh, and we have Brother Chawara here today. And our guest is Brother Kwabena. And Brother Kwabena has been with us now for over a year. He's been on the show numerous times. He's one of our new team members. And his commentary is very instrumental in Black people getting their just due in the media and not have negative stereotypes and negative media. He's an activist in that area. So, Brother Kwabena, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself again, and also tell us about the important topic we have this evening. Welcome.
Good evening, brothers. Maskani, good to be with y'all again. Just wanted to share with the people what's going on with this latest media attack. We know they've gone too far. They overplayed their hand on this one, and this is they're calling it a reboot of Good Times, or in other words, they titled it Good Times Black again. And what it is, it's an embarrassing minstrel cartoon, supposedly of the Good Times sitcom that came out 50 years ago in 1974. And so when the trailer came out, the people saw it and the people were outraged. Even though they had a couple of weeks before the show was about to start, they didn't care. They showed it anyway. They released 10 episodes on April 12th. And again, the people are outraged by it. It's an embarrassment to our race. They have a 2-year-old baby drug dealer depicted in the show, whose parents, his father kicked him out of the house because he's a drug dealer. The drug dealer gets shot at by 3 baby rappers, and the baby rappers are the baby, Lil Baby, and Baby. They're in the same project home that Good Times was in, and that they moved out when the television show ended. And these are the high rises of Cabrini Green, which have since been gentrified. They don't even exist anymore. And it's just utterly embarrassing. At the start of the show, the father is singing the old Good Time theme song, in the shower with the Roach. The Roach is singing the song with him. So, it's ridiculous. And it goes on and on. So we got a hold of CEMOTAP, which is the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People. And CEMOTAP, because of their name, because of who they are, this is very offensive. And one thing that's interesting about this piece, and you guys know we've been on here several times talking about this music and some of this ratchetness in the music, but it's hard to get people to really show outrage. But just for this trailer, this Good Time trailer on Netflix, they have right now about 7,000 thumbs up. 7,000 people say thumbs up who like it. Over 70,000 say thumbs down. So the people don't want this. And again, Netflix says, forget y'all, they showed it anyway. And it's produced by Norman Lear, who's no longer here, produced by Seth MacFarlane and Stephen Curry, the basketball player. And Seth MacFarlane is known for doing lewd and disrespectful things on African people. So CEMOTAP, brother James McIntosh, Dr. James McIntosh and Betty Dobson of New York, but they produced a video where we had some forums with CEMOTAP recently, and I want to go to the video. It's a few minutes long, but it's very important and very insightful. It kind of breaks down just stuff about the trailer. When we come back, I'll say a few more items about the actual show, because even though I'm not watching the show and have not watched the show and will not watch it, there are plenty of people who are doing reviews of it, so I'm getting the information from the reviews. So if we can start that trailer, that we'd appreciate that. And not the trailer, our presentation, Dr. McIntosh and CEMOTAP.
Amos Wilson taught us that in a system of white supremacy, to understand the mission of any agency or entity, Just turn the name backwards. The system designed to miseducate us is termed the education system. The system designed to damage us beyond repair is called the correctional system. Therefore, good times equals bad times. I knew before I saw the trailer that it would be bad, but once I saw the trailer, I realized it was worse than I could imagine. It could more aptly be called bad times, devilish times, or diabolical times. This trailer is so much worse than the original Good Times series that it makes the old Good Times look like the Hosea, the sacred wisdom of ancient Egypt. It bears no resemblance to the original. The trailer itself had 7 basic messages. 1, black people are ugly. 2, black people are stupid. 3, black people are violent criminals from birth and should be killed. 4, black people are rude, crude, lewd, and hypersexual. 5, the black struggle for freedom, justice, and equality is a joke. 6, black people are worthless. 7, black people have nothing sacred that whites are bound to respect. If you object to those messages, CEMOTAP, the Committee to Eliminate Media Offensive to African People, wants you to know that people around the country are saying, 1, cancel your Netflix subscription. 2, write and tell them why. 3, don't watch unless it's a bootleg. 4, sign the petition. 5, get others in your organization, church, sorority, fraternity, mosque, synagogue, temple, shrine, professional or social organization to follow steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. 6, get your organization, church, sorority, fraternity, mosque, synagogue, temple, or shrine to issue a statement condemning Netflix. 7, please come to the follow-up meeting we'll hold on Saturday, May the 11th at 2 p.m. and invite others to the follow-up meeting we will hold. There'll be no speakers, just participants to plan further action. We want to stop Netflix. This shows the difference in what the family looks like in the original Good Times and what they look like in this supposed reboot, which Brother Kwabena has labeled Hood Times. That's the name I'll also use to differentiate the two series. This is Brother Eric Monty, who along with Mike Evans created the original Good Times by taking it to Norman Lear, who had the lock on these types of sitcoms. Monty said, I had to fight and argue with Norman Lear for 3 years to show a complete black family on television. He said during the same interview that they thought of black humor as Yasa Boss, eyes want to go down by the river, but I'd fight them tooth and nail. They'd ignore it in the offices, take that Yasa stuff down to the cast. John Amos, Esther Roll, and Janet Du Bois would have a fit. Monty said this during a candid chat with Annette John Hall of the Philadelphia Inquirer. This is purported to be a social media post from Eric Monty denouncing this reboot and reiterating how Norman Lear stole from him. And this was put up by a brother named Tate. That's Mike Evans, the other co-creator with members of the cast of various sitcoms he appeared in, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, etc. This is Evans' daughter. She was supposed to be with us at our first meeting, representing 50% of the intellectual rights to the original Good Times. These are some of the things people are saying about it on the net. I'll read one which is representative of all of them. It says, Netflix Good Times reboot sucks thanks to white producers. Number 9, this
Excuse me, let me go back to it.
because it showed the percent of the intellectual post from Eric Monty denouncing this reboot and reiterating how Norman Lear stole from him. And this was put up by a brother named Tate. That's Mike Evans, the other co-creator with members of the cast of various sitcoms he appeared in, All in the Family, The Jeffersons, etc. This is Evans' daughter. She was supposed to be with us at our first meeting, representing 50% of the intellectual rights to the original Good Times. These are some of the things people are saying about it on the net. I'll read one which is representative of all of them. It says, Netflix Good Times reboot sucks thanks to white producers. Number 9, this is an image. It speaks for itself. It's some babies shooting at another baby. If you think this is funny, look at my next 2 slides. This is a picture, not of the people killed in the street violence in 2021 in New York City, just the children under 18 that were killed in street violence. So a cartoon of babies shooting guns will definitely not be funny to at least the 21 parents of these babies in New York, or the dozens of other babies killed the year before and the year after. This slide is a blot map of the shootings in a Chicago neighborhood. The big 1 centimeter size blots represent 5 shootings. The point of this is that this crap is not funny to anybody but fat millionaires living in gated communities or people who have been made brain dead and inured from watching too much TV. I'm not speaking polemics here. The science shows how this happens. Experimenters took a group of preschoolers and watched them play peacefully with toys. They then showed them a video with the kids using the same toys to hit each other. When they turned off the video, what do you think the children who played with these toys peacefully before did? They started whacking each other with the toys. Now, the experimenters concluded that media can cause people to be violent in 3 ways. 1, media can teach new ways and techniques of committing violence. Media can inure people or make them numb to violence, and media can disinhibit people from committing violence. I say it can also contribute to violence in a 4th way. It teaches victim identification. In other words, the children did not hit the teacher after the film. They hit each other. And you see black people getting this violence done to them all the time, and that's what we do. We do violence against each other. With respect to teaching new ways, you could say, no, it doesn't teach them. This is why you see kids all the time when they hold a pistol sideways once they saw a menace to society. That's where they all learned to do that. Brother Del Jones pointed that out. Black people calling each other ugly is not funny. I say that after witnessing Red Fox bring an Apollo audience to tears simply by flicking his cigarette and musing, there's a lot of ugly people in here. This was way before Sanford and Son, but the fact is the people were laughing because so many black people feel ugly. In 2023, black consumers spending on beauty products amounted to $9.4 billion and outpacing growth for the United States at large. More and more beautiful black people are taking knives to themselves because they just don't feel like what they see in the mirror, like they like it, even if they're talking about the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror. Perfectly fine looking black people don't like what they see when they look in the mirror. The daughter of the family has just said she had an important announcement. Her brother asked, is it that she's going to get disability for her face? The father asked, can you really get that? Showing that he's dumb. Then the daughter, referring to her brother, says, this coming from a guy who stares at orange juice carton every day. The son says, it says concentrate. Who the dummy now? The father then says to his children, S-H-I-T. Only he doesn't spell. Me for not wearing a condom. The father talking to his children tells them that he's dumb for not having worn a condom. And this is to children who've just been calling each other ugly. In this scene, the young man tells his girlfriend's father he'll take care of her. The father, in response to this positive statement, calls the boyfriend the N-word. Who is this N-word that I have to kill? So far, ugly, stupid, lewd, violent, worthless have all been established in just this 1 minute or so of the trailer. This is a picture of Twister High School where the motto on the sign says something about discipline. We hear a voice of the teacher saying that Junior has been left back 3 times in the 10th grade. The mother asks the teacher, is there anything that can be done to get him to the drive-through? And I guess that's a word meaning to get him to get it over quickly, but it also has a sexual meaning, and I wouldn't have even thought of that except that the rest of the comments have their sexual connotations. A teacher who's sitting with a pack of cigarettes in her pocket and an alcohol flask in her hands that she sips from, asks, can he do fans only, which is a website where people can put their personal porn up for sale. Then she asks to see his feet to see what he's working with. One interpretation could be that she's referring to people who put foot fetish porn up, but the more common meaning of what she says is referring to the size of his sex organ, which people commonly assert is related to foot size. Now notice, this is the teacher a high school teacher talking about a child who is her student. She is talking to his mother, who does not slap her face. This slide shows a drug-dealing baby who has just sold drugs to a white man driving with a voluptuous black woman wearing blonde hair and dress exposing cleavage down to where the nipple is almost exposed. And the baby drug dealer says his mouth is ready for some milk right now. So they're just hitting the viewer with multiple stimuli and concepts, including the sexualization of breastfeeding. Here we see a flash of a discarded picture of a white Jesus and hear the mother pray to her dear black heavenly father. We see one representation of black Jesus followed by a different representation of black Jesus sitting on a cloud, playing video games with a strange looking angel. A voice says, "Son, it's for you." A hand with a cell phone reaches from the higher clouds to hand black Jesus a cell phone. And if you're observant, you see that the hand has one turquoise painted fingernail and one lavender fingernail. Black Jesus answers new cell phone, "Who this?" In the old days, films featuring the characters of the step-and-fetch-it variety, the Mantan Moreland variety, had black buffoons with stretched eyes ask, "Who that?" Then who that say who that when I say who that. This is a throwback to those days with black Jesus saying, "Who this?" The message to be learned is nothing that black folks hold sacred. Not white Jesus, not black Jesus, not God himself. White people are bound to respect. For the Afrocentrists in the house, you'll see that this extends to African gods also. And certainly it extends to our ancestors. All of this is in the trailer. Why would anybody have to watch a whole episode to realize this movie is a vicious attack on black people? This is a scene here after some other scenes representing the black community in its worst light, has a white woman telling Mr. Evans that his neighborhood is a real SHIT hole. So this shows you that the same way white supremacists feel about you internationally is the way they feel about you locally. Here we have some women, and this is supposed to be a compliment to this woman, I think after she spent the rent money for some expensive clothing. "B, you look like money." Here we got the N word, the B word. It just gets worse and worse. Here we have a superfluous reference to Rosa Parks because the daughter is portrayed as a militant speaking, presumably about the television. She says the revolution will not be televised while her father admonishes her, "Come on, Rosa Parks. Can't you just sit and enjoy it?" In other words, can't you just passively imbibe poison? I've not figured out why Jeff Bezos is in the background of this scene. Somebody else wiser might be able to tell me. There's a spot in the trailer where the narrator says, "They are not the Evans of old, but the Evans of new." This disclaimer is, of course, said, I guess, to explain the absolute non-relationship between this good times and the real good times. As they say this, there's one frame of people flying around and running, and it ends with a slide, which is a total non sequitur in the trailer, with, of all things, images of Anubis, the Greek name for the African Kemetic god Yenipu, god of the afterlife, who weighs the heart of the deceased against the feather of Ma'at. The next couple of slides illustrate McFarlane's obsession with ridiculing black people's struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. The question, what about the struggle, is answered with, "We're black. It'll be here tomorrow." This is a picture of Seth MacFarlane, and I've highlighted a couple of biographical facts, some of the images he has projected in the past, so that we can understand whose work this trailer most resembles. He's been drawing cartoons since the age of 2. He has a reputation as an edgy cartoonist and humorist. He has ridiculed religion and identifies as an atheist. He studied animation at the Rhode Island School of Design, and he had a history of projecting offensive images making fun of the Ma'afa, the African Holocaust, or as Khalid Muhammad used to say, our African hell of a course, and other people's religions. I will show you some of the offensive images from other productions with which he has been involved. There was a profile in the New Yorker about Seth MacFarlane, and a person by the name of Ahmed Amidi offers 10 facts about MacFarlane that people don't know. I just took 4 of them just to tell you I have no comment about it, just what someone else wrote. He said that Seth MacFarlane is the highest paid writer-producer in television history. His current contract guarantees him about $33 million a year. That was back in 2012. It says it's Seth MacFarlane's mom. Now, you have to explain this to me. I'm no comment. I just tell you this is what's written in the New Yorker magazine that this person, Ahmed, wrote another article about. It says Seth MacFarlane's mom, Perry, who died in 2010, masturbated a dog once, which is a source of humor around the office. You know that he couldn't respect us if he says something like that about his mother. This was point number 7 they made. They said MacFarlane attributes the crude ethnic humor in his shows to his predominantly Jewish writing staff. Now this is interesting to the guy who likes to make fun of black people. MacFarlane likes to get spray-on tans, and they go through a whole thing telling you the procedure through which he would do this. even while at work. So number 10 is the simple reason that McFarlane's Flintstones reboot fizzled. Fox asked him to redo the script that he turned in and he declined. Somebody should have asked him to redo this skit, or should have asked somebody else to do it. Now here's one of his slides. Ha ha ha. A Klansman shaking fire at a black man. When we know our history, this is as offensive for an African as showing a Jew being threatened with a gas oven. You've been conditioned to feel discomfort when one of those things is said, but not the other. In other words, when we say something about the Jewish Holocaust, people feel uncomfortable, but you don't feel uncomfortable having a cartoon about the Klan and a black man. Let me read you something that may help you normalize, or as the young people are saying now, globally centralize you as people around the world feel and react when they hear about their particular Holocaust, whether it be the Nakba in Palestine, or the Armenian genocide, or the genocides of the First and Second Congo War, or the Congo genocide of Leopold. This is what 15,000 people coming to torture a black man to death looks like. You should think of it every time you hear the word Klan. This is a description of what they came to watch. Okay, this is from a book called Without Sanctuary. They're talking about this particular lynching. Says Washington was a mentally retarded 17-year-old boy. On May 8th, 1916, Lucy Fryer, a white woman, was murdered in Robinson, 7 miles from Waco. In a brief trial on May 15, the prosecution had only to present a murder weapon and Washington's confession. The jury deliberated for 4 minutes and a guilty verdict was read to shouts of "Get that N-word." The boy was beaten and dragged to the suspension bridge spanning the Brazos River. Thousands roared, "Burn him." Bonfire preparations were already underway in the public square where Washington was beaten with shovels and bricks. 15,000 men, women, and children packed the square. They climbed up poles and onto the tops of cars, hung from windows, and sat on each other's shoulders. Children were lifted by their parents into the air. Washington was castrated and his ears were cut off. A tree supported the iron chain that lifted him above the fire of boxes and sticks. Wailing, the boy attempted to climb the skillet-hot chain. For this, the men cut off his fingers. The executioners repeatedly lowered the boy into the flames and hoisted him out again. With each repetition, a mighty shout was raised. Now, see, you should think of that when you see this European showing you a Klansman shaking fire at a black man, and that's supposed to be funny. This is McFarlane's idea of humor, again, at the expense of black suffering. So you're talking about whipping, people getting, this is a man supposed to be freeing a slave, and he says to him, "But everything's cool now, right?" Or something along those lines. And this is a picture of what that was really like. This is a person they call Whipped Peter. This is an actual photograph. And you can see the keloided scars on his back. Now, maybe you can laugh at McFarlane because white supremacy causes injury at every level of the mental status, including memory. So as you laugh at this beating of a victim of white supremacy, you don't remember George Floyd or Eric Garner or Emmett Till. A witness, Willie Reed, heard thudding sounds from the barn where Till was taken after he was kidnapped from his home. He was beaten mercilessly. The boy was wailing probably the same way Robinson was wailing over the Brazos River. He began screaming for God and his mother. Then after a very long time, the screaming stopped. This is what the witness described. I can't wait until the laughing at McFarlane stops. This is McFarlane's funny cartoon about slavery. Okay. Again, this is the humor of McFarlane and his cronies from the series Family Guy. The characters say it's a statue of Harriet Tubman, quote, doing Gwyneth Paltrow. Who is Gwyneth Paltrow? She's a white actress who was able to sell candles called Smells Like My Vagina. I understand they flew off of the shelves. All right. This is Ted Sarandos. He's the CEO of Netflix. This is him and his wife. Just because a European marries a black woman doesn't mean he respects black women. Here's another McFarlane scene with the shadow silhouette of a man and woman, presumably the Evans, doing it doggy style, complete with slaps on the booty and the man's silhouette looking such a way that you cannot tell whether it is a man or Magilla gorilla. And in case you were to miss what's going on, the bug-eyed dog is your sign. I told you Amos Wilson said about turning the names backwards. Sometimes you have to turn them upside down. Netflix, making gross profits of $12 billion plus a year, beating up the puppet will not change the situation, but putting that profit margin in the red will. So after all the teaching we had today, anybody who does not want to boycott Netflix, we invite you to leave. We're not going to argue with you. You go after whoever you want to go after. This meeting is for those who want to go after Master Netflix. Ready, aim, boycott.
On TV.
If you want to know the truth, and that's a fact, let me hear you say, and you know that. And you know that. You dibby guys are so socialized, but how we gonna make a black nation rise? While you party down, yelling shock the house. Get down, rock, shock the house. The Ku Klux Klan is on.
Hello?
Was that it?
I think it said what we must do. I thought there was a little bit more, but it's all good. If so, I think Dr. McIntosh is on with us, so he can share if there's more on there also. But yeah, man, that was part of the emergency meeting we had initially when we addressed and dealt with this release. It was in late April. This release of this minstrel show. It was ridiculous that they show. So Dr. McIntosh mentioned when he talked about just the trailer. Again, that was just a trailer that he dealt with. And so 10 episodes have been released with so many other crazy things. They're twerking constantly on this thing. Got the girls twerking. They even have the young lady, I guess her name is Blue. She's like the Michael character in a way as in terms of being a militant of the family. And there's an episode where she has her first cycle and she has it at school and she's getting ridiculed at school. And it gets so bad where they have it even doing her work. The ink for her work that she's doing in school is the blood from her cycle. They have her fantasizing and going into writing on blood, writing a codex. She's writing a codex over a river, through a river of blood. They have her depicted as getting on stage with other women in another one of the episodes, twerking and getting BBLs. All the women have look like they got BBLs, just very pronounced rear ends in the cartoon. And she's only 12 years old, so really this is kind of like pedophilia. There's a part in there where the big 2-year-old baby is missing, and so they're going to look for the baby. And so as the mother goes and looks for the baby, her breasts are shown to be lactating. It gets moist where her nipples are. If the baby is to her right when they're looking for her right nipple will start lactating. If the baby's to her left nipple will start lactating. And you know, and again, the part about the dog, there's a dog depicted in there that's a PTSD dog, and the father didn't even know what PTSD means, I guess, so he named the dog, that was the dog's name. And he brings the dog home after the dog helps him in an emergency situation. And the mother gets jealous of the dog. She says there's only one BITCH in this house. They said we don't need any more pets. We got roaches. Roaches were their pets. There's an episode where it floods in the apartment, only in their apartment where it floods, and there's roaches floating on an empty beer can, floating in the episode. So anything they can do, man, it's just ridiculous. And so, again, there's so many podcasts, so many people who are expressing disdain at this, not wanting this, and really offended by this. And so CEMOTAP is saying, hey, let's do something about this. Let's put a stop to this, because we all know that when you create these images and when you put these images out here about a people that's demeaning and degrading and dehumanizing them, you're setting them up. You're setting them up to be annihilated, you know, to be abused. And what we're already going through enough of it now with the music. A couple things that we're doing is that we're canceling our Netflix subscription. Several people have been canceling them already. We've had subsequent meetings the last 2 weeks, CEMOTAP emergency forums, where people have been talking about things that they have done. So we're canceling our Netflix subscriptions, and we're not just canceling at that. We're calling them, we're letting them know why we're canceling. We're also making sure that our friends, our community organizations, they're doing the same thing. There's an open letter that maybe we'll get to before we finish that was written by CEMOTAP to the co-chair of Netflix. There's several petitions out there. There was a petition out there initially calling for them not to even start this thing on April 12th, but there's other petitions out there calling for them to cancel it, to put a stop to it. And so there's a petition out there, and I'll put that in the chat, the link to that petition that we're asking people to sign. And so this coming Friday, we're calling Netflix board of directors. We got a phone number for is 866-579-7115. We're bombarding them with phone calls. That's 866-579-7115. And we're also calling customer service. That number is 888-838-4366. Again, number 888-838-4366. We want to turn the people's outrage and obvious, and I said it earlier, just in case people are just getting in, just in terms of the YouTube trailer, there's 7,000 plus thumbs up, 70,000 plus thumbs down. So 9 out of 10 people do not want this. They do not want this, and they're saying that they don't like it. And one of the things I found interesting too, that and looking at the number of podcasts and different commentaries on this, I saw one with the white dude and the brother. They were on there together, and so the brother was again expressing, just how crazy this thing is. Matter of fact, there's one episode where the father has a whip in the house. No need to have a whip. It's just he has a whip. He's playing with a whip, and he strikes his son in the face with the whip, and the son's messed up on the ground. Just stuff like that. But the white dude, after the brother is talking about how bad it is, the white dude comes on and said that he loved the character Junior. That was his first statement. He loves the minstrel character Junior. And we're like, of course you all do. It's like, it's a minstrel show. We know that was the number one form of entertainment for you all some 100 plus years ago. That was it. It was the minstrel show, and y'all still like it. That's why you're able to fill up these seats in these minstrel rap fests that are going on right now this summer, where artists are on there dropping N-bombs and B-bombs on themselves and calling for us to kill each other. And it's porn. Y'all are the ones buying the $300,000 tickets for these fests. So yeah, it's a lot. And coming up on June 5th, and we'll talk about what June 5th, we got to have some direct action right in front of the headquarters. They got a LA headquarters, they got a New York headquarters. The New York headquarters, I'll let Dr. McIntosh talk more about that if he's on there with us. I think he is. But that's where we are, man. We just wanted to share some of the direct action and some of the things that we're doing to put a stop to this, because it must be stopped. They can't be allowed to get away with this. If they think they can get away with this, and with all the outrage that the people are expressing verbally and via podcasts or whatever, it's going to only get worse.
Okay, did you want James McIntosh to speak now?
Yes, well, I'm here if you do. I think Brother Kwabena represented everything very well. That's pretty much, if a person doesn't understand after that, I don't think I can really add too much more that's going to change it. We did write an open letter which went into these things. But the fact of the matter is we have been inured not only to violence and not only to ourselves, violence being done to ourselves in the media. We've been inured to really just being disgraced and insulted and assaulted. And unfortunately, unfortunately, it shouldn't have taken something this wild and crazy for people to get outraged. They're doing it every day on this tube. If you look at any horror movie, the first person killed, and usually in the most horrible way, is going to be a Black person. You look at the way they represent our families, you look at the way they represent our manhood, you look at the ways that they represent our womanhood, and you can see that they're insulting us every day in the music, in the videos, in the television, and this stuff has become normalized. So the only good thing about this Netflix thing is that it's so outrageous that almost everybody can see it. A blind person can see it. So Brother Kwabena told you the actions we've been taking. We have another meeting on the 1st of June, in between the call-in and the and the demonstration. The demonstration we set for 5 o'clock to give people a chance to get home from work. It's the board of directors. It's the day before their meeting. So the board of directors is meeting the following day. They won't be at that headquarters. They have a virtual meeting. But they will get news of us having been there, because they're going to have to, they're going to have to, it's the time that people are getting off. So there's going to be a lot of people out there just in the streets ordinarily on Broadway. And our demonstrators will just add to that crowd. And we've done this before. We did it around at ABC with Gil Noble, usually at around the same time. And we know that it will be effective at drawing attention to the issue, because what's going to stop it is not CEMOTAP. What's going to stop it is our community expressing their outrage. And we believe that we've been taking the steps in a stepwise manner to make this take place.
Dr. McIntosh, again, we've talked to, I know you all had Attorney LeGrand Clegg on a little over a month ago on here. He's part of CEMOTAP West, and we've been talking to some of their members, and so planning a simultaneous demonstration out here on that same day at the headquarters in Los Angeles. There's also, their main headquarters is in Silicon Valley, right near San Jose. Well, something is the name of the city, but again, New York and Los Angeles, of course, they have headquarters there, so they're gonna see the people on those days.
Okay, this is a much needed work that you guys are doing, and people should get on board to help with this cause, because it is outrageous, and it's sickening to the stomach if you listening to the comments and all of the things that they're doing. So I want to go to the panel that may have questions for Dr. James McIntosh and you, Brother Kwabena. So I'm gonna go to Professor Rahh.
Bonnie Ghani brothers. Well, that was excellent. I want to commend both of you for spearheading this issue and telling people why they should be offended, because they have normalized Black demonization, defamation, to the point where a lot of young people, not all of them, just don't be offended. I taught Black people in the mass media. It goes all the way back to plays before they even had films and things of this nature, from blackface to just deprivation and comedy and things of this nature that used us as this source of entertainment. And the more demonization and deprivation, the funnier it was to them. And then, you always gonna have some African-American collaborators working with them. But what y'all are doing is a major task, taking on Netflix, as you said, multi-billion-dollar industry, and taking on the Norman Lear and the whole Hollywood and movie-making industry, and maybe cartoons. They had a couple of Black cartoons, animated cartoons that were very demeaning to us in the 90s. I can't remember, because I won't even watch them. But it's a struggle. And as Malcolm X said, we have to fight on all fronts. All fronts. And wherever Black people is, it's a battle line. It's a battle line. Papa. Okay, bye-bye. All right. Bye. Bye. All right. I'll give you a call. And so our struggle is continuing. But then we got to try to exploit the institutions that we have a captive audience, like the HBCUs and some progressive Black churches. Is the Reverend Wright out there? Have he been approached with this yet?
No,
Reverend Wright
it's
is not.
Reverend Moss now there. So yeah, we do need to let Reverend Moss now know, but yeah, I don't think Reverend Wright is retired. But
Okay.
Reverend Moss, that's still a big, very progressive church there.
Yeah. He was on it, and he didn't care. A couple of church presentations he made that I heard, but like when we look at and LeGrand, I talk to LeGrand all the time. You know, he started this in the 80s with Coalition Against Black Exploitation, CABE, and a lot of us, you know, were part of that movement demonstrating against the color purple, where the Black man didn't have a name, and she held him as a pedophile and domestic violence and normalized it. And then, you know, you had Debbie Allen and I don't think it was Norman there, the other movie producer, coming up with this movie about Black African people on the slave ship. But the point is that what, you know, I'm in support of y'all, you know, at Kwabena. I mean, you know, and you got a big challenge in Chicago, just getting people woke up to how this is damaging their children and damaging the children's image of themselves and their people. And you know, and you know, and so I think that we have to find ways in which to get the progressive people to join in this movement. They can still fight for their own individual movements. There's so many movements going around that it's hard to centralize one movement, you know, like civil rights versus human rights. You know, that was a thing in the 60s. But you're just trying to get a movement of awareness of not just this cartoon, but all the other ones historically that contributed to the negative psychological understanding of Black people about themselves, not as pyramid builders and naming the stars and scientific innovations from, you know, all the positive things. It's just sex, entertainment, and and when you have these things on TV, maybe through Netflix or bootleg or whatever, they're in your house. You know, they're in your house. You know, and if you watch them, you know, you watch them to be educated. You should watch them with someone who can explain the harmful effect. But, you know, there's so many of our young people that are not getting conscious education in the public school. I mean, I know, you know, you're not getting it. You know, I know when I was coming up, you know, in the 60s, teachers didn't even talk about Black consciousness and Afrocentricity, even though that word hadn't been made up yet. But it just, I remember going to the school, I didn't really become active until I went to junior college. I mean, I was active. I mean, I just thought not liking white folks was Black, but there's more to it. It's like loving yourself, respecting yourself and your people. It's really about being Black or African American. But I think this is a good presentation that hopefully we can reproduce the aspects of what y'all showed, and hopefully fraternities and sororities as well as Black professional groups will have discussions. I mean, it's something to talk about. I mean, the way y'all talk about it was so enlightening and so beautiful for lifting the minds of people. I was just glued to the narration and the solutions of what we could do as far as writing to the Netflix, writing the Normandy, writing, and building a movement, building a conscious movement. But like I said, the challenge is getting some of the key people to feel offended. But, the Europeans just give them some money, then all of a sudden they don't feel offended. But anyway, Dr. McIntosh, you've done a great job. Kwabena, y'all do a good job. Whatever I can do. And that's why we have you on our program with Rashaki, so we can get the word out too. But at the same time, brother, y'all are amazing, man, to take on this battle. Because it's going to be a continuous battle. Because once you beat them down on this, there's going to be so many other portrayals of Black people. And then when they do good roles like Cleopatra Brown fighting against heroin, and Foxy Brown, and fighting against drugs and crime, all of that. They call it Black exploitation. They deify the movies where we heroes and fighting for the best of our people, and then they glorify the degradation. Like what Malcolm said, they make the criminal the victim, and the victim the criminal. And this is definitely victimizing us psychologically, as most African American psychologists. The National Association of Black Psychologists should be on top of this. But anyway, thanks, brother, for the presentation. It was excellent, Dr. McIntosh and Kwabena.
All right, thanks, Professor Rahh. Any response? And I can go to Brother Chiwara.
I want to say you're welcome, brother, and thanks for giving us that recap on, some of the history of this media. Mm-hmm. The organization has been going on since 1987, and these aren't the first people we've taken on. We actually bankrupted the New York Post in New York, and that was documented by Wilbur Tatum, the editor of the Amsterdam News, and Earl Corwell, who wrote about that. We drove to European hate radio hosts off of WABC in New York. And then out on the West Coast, Brother LeGrand and Brother Lem and some other people out there, they were able to really light a fire under this, I can't remember this guy who used to have a show as a judge out there. So it's not the first time. The thing so we've been on this battle for a long time, and we've been providing this type of information for a long time. But what the difference is that it's like for a lot of people, it's like a spectator sport. They're waiting for an organization like CEMOTAP to do something about a thing. And what we've been trying to do with this is let people know what they can do, what you can do in order to make this actually happen. Because there won't be any victory unless a lot of people take up, if 200 people in the country only cancel their memberships, that's not going to be effective. But what we've asked for is for each person who sees it and feels that way and agrees with what we say, we have a list of things they can do. First, cancel your own Netflix if you have it, and if you don't, then no problem. Secondly, sign a petition. All right. If you cancel it, there's a spot right on the sheet to tell you, ask you why you canceled it. You write on there why you canceled it. Sister Marimba Anis sent us a picture of her cancellation and their response to her. And then after you do those things,
Then you go to your organizations. It can be your church, your mosque, your shrine, your fraternity, your sorority, or whatever it is. And you got to be CEMOTAP with them. You got to go there to them and tell them, look, this is what we ought to get on board with. We need to get on board with these things right here. Then after that, if you have that access to an organization, if you're part of an organization and you can get them to participate in the call-in on Friday, the 24th, that'll be great. If you can get them to come to the next meeting on June the 1st, that'll be great. It's virtual, it's online. And if you can get them to come to the demonstration, either in California or in New York, all of those are the things that's what we need. We need people to not simply sympathize with us or empathize with the struggle, or and I know I'm talking probably to long distance activists, but my point is that for the general public, what we're asking is for each person to take it on personally as a personal issue. And if we can do that and make it multiply, well, we had 200 people at the first meeting. And we asked people to do that. If each of the 200 had done what we did, then that would have given us, the next meeting would have been 40,000 people. And if 40,000 people get 200 people, like the first person did, well, then you would get 8 million. And that's how it happens. We don't have to stop their billions of dollars. We only have to hit their profit margin. They've been running some big profit margins for over the last few years. One of them was like 20, two of them were like over 20%. One of them was like 12%, but it was one year where they had 0.66%. Now that's a profit margin that's a little easier to hit. If you can take them and make them lose 1% of that profit margin, you throw them into the red. That's something that they have to pay attention to, because they have stockholders, they have people who that's not their intention to invest their money and only make 1% or lose 1%. That's not the intention of people who invest. The intention of people who invest is to make profit, and they want to have ever rising profits. That's the nature of this particular economic system that they have here. So anyway, not to preach to the choir, just saying that everything I've agreed with it. I agree with everything I've heard today, and if you've agreed with everything that you've heard, we ask whoever's listening, whoever sees this after it's broadcast or whatever, to join in. It tells you right in the video that Kwabena showed you. We've listed, the things that we wanted at that point. It's expanded a little bit because now we're asking people to come to the demonstration, that sort of thing. But that was that critique of the trailer was written, a few weeks ago. And this is a dynamic situation because they've released the shows, and Kwabena has even new stuff that he saw, with respect to, and if you don't understand somebody taking your child, sexualizing them, and then having them do something like write in period blood, or the teacher being a drunk and a nicotine addict and telling your child about a porn site, then, there's nothing we can do for you, because it's not your fault. It's your responsibility, but it's not your fault. White supremacy damages you at every level of your mental status. And one of them is memory, and another one is cognition. Another one, I'm trying to say, is just intelligence, just understanding. So this is what we're up against. But I think that everybody who can see it and understand it, if you get on board with some activity and some action, and like what we get mainly is like critique. I was looking at one of the responses to the demonstration, and the brother said, "Why are you going to come there at 5 o'clock? Everybody's going to be going at 5 o'clock." And I started answering him, but fortunately I was called off to do this. But I guess I just wanted to ask him, well, what time is the demonstration you're having, brother? What time is yours? Because we'll come to yours, the earlier one that you have. The reason we picked this time, I told you, is because it's the time when people are generally getting off of work, and it's the time when the streets are crowded down there, and it's the time when our members, the people who instead of critiquing us And instead of us empathizing with us, will actually come out into the streets. It's a time when they're able to do it. So that's why we have that time.
Right. Appreciate it. I'm gonna go to Brother Chawara. Brother Chawara.
Yes, my brother. Wow. Where do I energize this divine immortal session that we're having right here? This is a meeting of divine proportions. You know, and yes, brother, preaching to the choir is quite fine, because sometimes the choir need to be preached to. You know, and as I was listening to the introduction and the presentation of tonight's topic, something deep inside of me said, these brothers, this ain't nothing new. They've been doing this. It was just it was not too, it was just 1,000,000% hitting at the whole intention, and they did it so scholarly and so, you know, intelligently, and not above the head of anyone. A baby could understand that introduction to presentation. It drives me into an area of remembrance as I was coming up, where I remember seeing pictures of lynchings, you know, and pictures of burnings of my foreparents in America, in the South as well as the North. And when I look at the audience, because I never really wanted to I didn't look at the person being lynched. I looked at the audience. I said, what kind of people is this? And so I began to look who's in the audience. And what was striking to me was that these people, the Caucasians, they had their children, bringing them up in that same culture, in that same energy. And so when we come in 2024, I am not surprised at all that this is what they are doing, because they were bred on this. And those that are here today, they may stand up and say, hey, well, we didn't do anything to you guys, and I don't see why we, yes, but your behavior is still in the system that you are living in, and the system that you're not saying anything about, the system that you're allowing to present you, 2024 Caucasians, is a system based upon hatred. So one of the things I would like to do, and you know, Malcolm X said, you know, if we got a problem in our house, you know, we shouldn't trash it out in the public arena. And I think the position that you all have put forth is just about at the right borderline. We cannot go any deeper into it, but one thing I can say for myself to the group that's doing this and movement. I'm an artist, and I've been doing music for quite some time, and I've purposely stayed out of the industry, that same industry that, you know, Puff Daddy and all these other people is dealing with. I want to deal with suggestion. I think we need to go into our Black community directly and create something, you know, like how they say, you know, buy back guns. Well, let's go in there and have them drop their Netflix right in there on site. And then we get them something that might, you know, or we don't. It doesn't matter, but we need to go into the community now, because we have a right to go into our community, because really we're talking about our community. We're not talking about those people producing those things. They're going to do that. They're going to do that. They want confrontation, and that's all well and good. Those who want to do it, we need to confront our own people. And I'm suggesting that I'm available to that. I could discuss it in more detail differently. The energy I don't really want to put over on this line. There's nothing illegal or unlawful, but they don't like us organizing. And Chicago is a test site. There's a theory they had called social disorganization. And social disorganization is dealing with aspect that what they do is they use people's actions are more strongly influenced by the quality of their social relationships and their physical environment rather than rational thought. And so they did this, and all we're experiencing is another phase of social disorganization. We know who control all the media. If you go and study Germany before the war, same people. Now, so we just have to we are free. We're not asking anybody for freedom. We're not asking anybody for justice. We're not doing none of that. That's what they want, because that calls for confrontation. We are free. So then we need to be free. We need to exercise freedom. We need to exercise freedom based upon our intelligence. We need to operate within our construct. And so I'm willing to be a part of that. I saw the first episode, man, I'll tell you, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was like, whoa. The little baby was in diapers and was snorting cocaine. I mean, I could not believe this at all. And then they put it in a cartoon that tell you who they're targeting. Little children, our little children. That's a subliminal. Yeah, why didn't you put real actors and actresses? You see, children are more, they want children. They want our children. So, brother, man, I'm with you 1,000,000%. We have already canceled our Netflix, and and I'm so 100% with you guys, man. Love you. Keep doing it. I want to be there. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, but whatever we can do, whatever I can do, I'll discuss that, off the air, and I think this is a very important thing. And, it speaks to the school to prison pipeline also. It speaks to that. They're trying to take our children from the diaper to prison. That's what they're doing. The little kid's in diaper. He didn't even make it to school. He didn't even make it to the. Oh, man. We need a new faculty of thinking. That's what I deal with. New faculty of thinking. Because that calls for new action also. New action. New thinking, new action. Peace and love, man. I don't want to, but I love you guys, man. You're doing a marvelous and masterful, divine, immortal job. Peace, protection, and guidance to you all.
We appreciate you, brother Rashaki. Real quick, if I just want to share that we appreciate the comments and everybody thus far. We put in the chat the phone numbers to call this Friday morning to call Netflix customer service and their board of directors. So we have that in the chat. So please check it out and call them. It's sad. I mean, again, I love the fact that the doc said we take this as a personal issue. And we share it like as though it's a personal issue. If we all did that, just I was sharing about the number of thumbs down, and she was said if 70,000 people, if they cancel their Netflix subscription, she got the price, how much it costs, and she equated that to how much money they would lose. And her brother Rahh, I hope he'll speak a little later, and he was sharing with us Netflix stock prices and how they were going down a little bit too. So that, yeah.
Well, I wanted to say I appreciate the brother's remarks, and more importantly, I think I feel the spirit in which he's making the remarks. I want to say that we try not to be abstract as we talked about this thing, because it's really for concrete reasons that it's important to protect your image as it's being, for one thing, this image is going around the world. And if you have aspirations of Pan-Africanism and or internationalism, whatever it is, you have to understand those will be thwarted when people believe that every African from America that they see that this is what we are like, this is our level of operating, this is the energy level at which we're operating. It's also historically true that these sorts of attacks precede physical attacks. So when you look at I don't know if I said it in the video, but the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan that occurred in the early 20th century was after the first rise of the Klan during the 19th century. And that one was spurred by a single book and a movie that was made from that book. So the book was The Klansman by Dixon, and then The Birth of a Nation was the movie that became like just the most popular movie in this country. And you even had the President of the United States issuing a statement praising the Ku Klux Klan that was used as one of the frames in that silent movie. And as a result, the Ku Klux Klan, that was President Woodrow Wilson, made the comment that was used. As a result of that, the Klan grew again exponentially, and the lynchings, the assaults that were taking place on our people grew. And so that by 1919, you had the year in which the most Africans in the history of the country, were lynched. Meaning, but there was a time when it was legal to kill us. I'm not counting that period. I'm not talking about before that, but I'm talking about after the law at least said you shouldn't do it. The lynchings reached their maximum in 1919, what they call the Red Summer. So this is not an abstract thing. We have a picture of some textbooks that were used in Nazi Germany about the Jews that even preceded Hitler's coming. They actually had an agency that if you made a movie and the movie wasn't anti-Jewish enough, they would send the movie back to become anti-Jewish. They don't even have to do that here in the United States because the movies are anti-Black enough. I can't imagine them wanting to make it any more anti-Black, any more anti-African. So it's not abstract for us. This is really shaping people's minds. This is shaping your opponent's minds. This is shaping our own people's minds. And then it's shaping people that we want to connect with around the world. It's shaping people's minds about us. And those sorts of opinions and thoughts about people and those sorts of cultural productions about people precede physical attacks on people. And I just used one example, but it's not just with Africans. This is all over the world when they want to. I mean, you take the indigenous people here. They used to make these novels in which they tell you this thing. I think they call them dime store novels or whatever it was. And they just painted the indigenous people in such a way that they would be regarded as vermin by anybody who read those things. And that allowed them to treat them like vermin. And so, we're at a stage now where just every positive Black image that you have, every positive, they do scandalization on them. They do all kinds of things to make it where you feel like there's not any Black person who is an honorable or worthy, a ethical person. And you know, you just look at the headlines now. You look at you know, they people thought they gave you a pail of milk and then they kicked it over. They talked about all the youngsters that started going to the HBCUs after the Cosby show. And then what they do, they took it and they painted Cosby in a way that you know, took that away from you. So that the person that you looked up to the most, person had the best reputation. There's even a thing against Dr. King. They've spread, you know, and when they're ready, they will trot out that stuff. Now the thing is that the other groups have organizations with not millions of dollars, not tens of millions of dollars, but hundreds of millions of dollars. Now I actually have the slides to show you that the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith Society has multiple organizations, the ADL Foundation, the ADL, so on and so forth, and they have both assets and receipts of over $100 million. So that group, they can take a more passive role because they have an organization that when they speak, they've kicked people's butts so much until they just have to speak and everybody trembles. We don't have an organization like that. We don't have an organization that has kicked so much, but has so many resources, has so many assets. And the thing about it is, some of these groups operate like you might have operated as a child when you would pick teams and you know how you go, this person's you know, this person's next, this person's next, and then you don't want to be that last person who got either left out of the game or, you know, was just the worst person. And so ethnic groups operate that way also. And they're ethnic groups that have decided they're not going to be on the bottom anymore. They want to keep Black people under them at all times. And so they don't even go after their biggest opponents. They don't go after I mean, they don't go after them with the same vigor they go after Black people when they say a Black person has said something that is anti-Jewish, for instance. They don't even say that, they say anti-Semitic. And it doesn't have to be anything like these things that are done to us. It could be something, I mean, trivial, but that's the climate in which we're in. It's not abstract. This stuff hurts people. This stuff can potentially kill people. This stuff puts people in jail. This stuff is harmful. And it's not like on a theoretical basis that we approach this. You know, I like theory and abstraction as much probably as anybody, but in this situation for CEMOTAP, we have people that, you know, we have people that worship white Jesus. We have people that worship Black Jesus. But the thing about it is this thing insulted the major, but notice they didn't attack Muhammad. They didn't attack because the Salman Rushdie incident showed them, you know, that you didn't have like to have a group, an anti-defamation group. You had people who put a fetwa on the guy and said they were going to kill him. He had to go into hiding for years and years. Now, we have some of the most religious people in the world. We have people that shoot each other for not having the right color on. We have people who shoot each other for saying that they're ops to each other, you know, or they say on site. So the thing is that if our minds got redirected in a way, you know, we would have more protection for ourselves. Our image wouldn't be assaulted in this way, and therefore our bodies would be in less danger.
It's dangerous, and I'm glad you said it, the last word. It is definitely dangerous, and that's why it's so important that we properly address this. Even when it comes to
you saw the two maps. Yeah. You saw the two pictures that I showed, the pictures of all the babies that were killed in 21 in New York, or the block map of all the shootings in Chicago. How is somebody going to be laughing at that?
Well, that's yeah, when you're indoctrinated and people, you know, mind is not where it should be, they will be a part of their own demise. It's just a mental illness. And media is that powerful. We have another person on here, Rahh. Rahh? Are you available? Okay, I guess they're just listening. All right, Brother Kwabena.
Well, Rahh, I mean, I was on with him. He's out of New York also, and I
Okay.
think that's my brother. But he sent a, he was with his other brother. We both were interviewed together. Who was an artist, and I sent you. He made a song, and I sent it to you, Dr. McIntosh, also already called "Bad Times," a rap song. And I don't know if you have the link, I'll send it to you. And I know you did the one for us. I appreciate that. But if you can share that too, man, that would really be good for us to hear that song. It's like a 3-minute song, typical length of time for a rap song. If you can pull that up. But it's yeah.
Peace,
So
family. I'm here. I'm at work. I can't really get on. I'm just listening. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Forgive me for not being able to chime in.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. Yeah, well, we gonna have to do it the next time you come on, because we have to end this evening. I have
okay,
some other things going on.
I got you. I do want to say one other thing though, because as we deal with this issue, we got to understand how this music issue continues to be such a we're seeing what's happening to what Puff Daddy is, or P Diddy, or we call it PSHIT, whatever, what he's been exposed, and how he abused that woman. Or we're saying how he abused Sister Cassie. If this continues, that hip hop or rap music has a history of this. Uh, Dr. Dre, he beat D Barnes down, he beat up Michelle, and now he's a billionaire. He just got I think they got the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and they have a Global Impact Award named in his honor from the Grammys. That just happened. One of the babies in this cartoon that we see shooting at the 2-year-old baby is called Da Baby. He had a song recently where he talked about he gonna piss in a cup and tell her it's urine. And Kanye West has a song right now that it was #1 earlier this year called Carnival. And we may have talked about this last time we were together. And Carnival, obviously, that children enjoy the carnivals. On this song, he talks about make her drink the urine. I heard it last night on the European on radio station in Chicago being played last night, where they beeped out everything else about how she S's the D like the honor roll, how she rides the D like a carnival. And they even beeped out Columbine this time because they make reference to Columbine in this song. And I have a little cousin just graduated from high school, and I was asking him what he was listening to recently, and he shared he shared that some of his favorite artists is Kanye West, and he loved the song Carnival. When I told him I knew the lyrics, he kind of got quiet then. But he said in that song on the radio, unedited, make her drink the urine. It was on the radio. And so they've been abusing and disrespecting our women in song. And but see, again, that goes under doesn't, it's probably been more normalized in this stuff on because they hear it all the time. But the outrage again from the people concerning this Netflix piece, this is my 3rd time saying it, I think it's very important. The thumbs down 7 times, 10 times, 9 times more than the thumbs up is very significant. And so many people just do not want this, do not like this. I've seen them all ages. And so we got to move forward. Looking forward to Friday and us calling in to these to the CEOs and to the board of directors of Netflix. Again, those numbers are 866-579-7115. That's the board of directors. Customer service number is 888-838-4366. This Friday, 24th, let's call them. And also on June 5th, 5 o'clock, Netflix headquarters in New York City. And we'll get the time and we'll be gathering at their headquarters in Los Angeles on that same date, on Wednesday, June 5th.
Okay. Well, look, I appreciate everybody that showed up this evening. Dr. James McIntosh, Brother Rahh, Professor Rahh, and Brother Tawara, and Brother Kwabena. We're going to take our pause, and we'll be back next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Wednesday, I know we have a guest, Brother Asa Allah, a food nutritional researcher and Professor Rahh, do we have a guest for Monday? I mean, Tuesday? You're on mute.
What date is Tuesday? The 2nd or something?
No, no, the day is the 22nd, so that'll be the 26th.
Well, I think well, I'm gonna try to get her on, but you know she can't do Tuesdays, so we have to figure it out for Wednesday.
Okay,
Because that's when city council meeting is. In August, they off for the whole month. Try to get the mayor of Compton on and see what's going on.
okay. All
Right.
right, everybody, we're gonna take our pause. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Everybody have a good evening.
All right.
Peace.